my loves. Welcome to Body Wisdom, your podcast for all things related to nervous system regulation, feeling grounded in your body, and improving your relationships. I'm your host, Courtney Beyer, a holistic occupational therapist and yoga instructor based in Southern California. I am incredibly passionate about helping women connect to their mind, body, and soul to heal from trauma and truly thrive in their lives. If that sounds like you, you are in the right place. So grab your headphones and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Body Wisdom podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I know so many of you can relate to, and that is letting go of fantasizing a future with somebody. I want to talk about how to recognize that you might be fantasizing about somebody and how to break free from this cycle so that you can actually call in a relationship that is involved with connection, love, growth, intimacy, all the things that you deeply desire to have in your relationship. I know we have all been there. We have all met somebody, whether or not we've met them at work, at the grocery store, we've matched with them on a dating app, we've seen them out in the public, and they ignite a little spark within us. When we meet them and we connect with them, there's something about that connection that just gives us a body response where we're filled with a lot of emotions and we start to daydream about a future together. We start to think about the house that we're going to buy together, the city that we're going to live in. We start to think about the children that we might have, what they're going to look like, what their names might even be. This can go on and on and on, where we start to think about this future together. We even start to project various qualities onto this person that they might not even have, all because of this spark, this connection that happens in our bodies. And I want to say that this is so common. This is something that I definitely experienced when I was single. And I know so many of my clients also have felt the same way. And there's so much that goes into this. It's a very complex thing that happens. And so I just want to normalize it for a second, because I think the more that we talk about it and the more that we normalize it and not shy away from it, not be embarrassed by it, the more that we can recognize when it happens, because it can be very overtaking. When you fantasize a future about somebody, you can get so caught up in this fantasy that you start to project a whole identity onto this person. And like I said before, they might not even have these characteristics that we've given them. So I want to just take a minute to, again, normalize this experience and also say that I'm a visionary. I'm a person that has a lot of goals in life. I love Pinterest. I love getting really specific about the things that I desire. And I always say to, especially to my fellow entrepreneurs out there, that in order to really bring something into the world, in order to bring your visions and your goals and your gifts to the world, you do have to be a little delusional at times. That's just how you truly bring something new to the world and believe in yourself. So it is very normal to have these goals, desires, but it's really important to recognize when, especially in your love life, you might be fantasizing a little bit too much about somebody so that you can break this cycle and cultivate love, connection, growth, and intimacy that you're really deeply desiring. So let's first talk a little bit about, why do we do this? Why do we fantasize about people, and why this happens in the first place? So for a lot of us, when we meet somebody and we fantasize about them, or maybe even we fantasize about a made up person in our mind, this can serve as a form of escaping our current reality. So it's a way to distract ourselves from the present moment and all of the uncertainties that it holds. A lot of us that experience an anxious attachment style and experience a lot of anxieties in relationships, we are really worried about getting abandoned or being disappointed. We have a deep fear of things not working out with somebody. And so when we fantasize about somebody, it helps us have a little bit more of a sense of control on our situations. It gives us this sense of security and it helps protect us from potential disappointment because it's so much easier to just fantasize about somebody than it is to be disappointed. But here's the thing, relationships and life, it's so much more complex than this. Another thing that we do when we are fantasizing a future with somebody is that we convince ourselves that if we can just hold on to this vision of a perfect relationship, a perfect person that is just going to take away all of our pain and anxieties and just make our lives better, is our deepest insecurities just automatically vanish. But here's the thing, there is no perfect relationship out there. There is not going to be somebody that just comes along and gives you everything that you've desired in life and saves you. There's not one person out there that can provide us with this validation that we often are looking for. All of that comes from within yourself. And often, I know I experienced this so much when I was single personally, is I would project a future onto somebody and I would often fantasize about a specific person. And I often noticed that the reason I was doing that is because they were holding certain traits and characteristics that I wanted for myself. And so I projected this whole idea of this person because that's actually the person that I wanted to become. So it can be a little bit difficult to kind of stop that cycle and recognize when you're doing that. So it's really important to catch yourself in this cycle because the reality is that there is no such thing as a perfect relationship or a perfect situation that is just going to save you from all of your problems. So how do you start to recognize when you are really excited about somebody and what the difference of that is with, are you just projecting a whole entire life with somebody and fantasizing with somebody? And is that going a little bit too far? So, how do we start to recognize when this fantasy of somebody else begins to get a little bit out of control? The first thing that is so important is cultivating mindfulness and a connection to your body. Because when you're connected to your body, you check in with the signals that your body provides to you. You can start to check in with, something feels a little bit off here. And you question some of these fantasies that you start to have. When you're disconnected from your body and when you don't have these mindful strategies to stay checked in with yourself, it's really easy to get swept away into these thoughts in your mind because your mind is going at a mile a minute, thinking about all of the different things that this person's going to bring into your life. And it's not really stopping to think about, well, how does this person actually make me feel? A really good practice to get started if you haven't done this already, and especially if you're single, is creating a list about this person and how they are showing up in your life and how it's making you feel. So maybe write a list about some of the characteristics that they have and how these characteristics make you feel. Maybe you can write a little bit about, oh, I really like how this person plans dates with me. It makes me feel really secure and held in this dating process. Or it can look a little bit something like, I really dislike how this person doesn't reach out to me and plan things with me, and I'm stuck with all the planning. So now I start to feel anxious and I feel like I'm starting to overgive and be in a little bit different of an energy that I actually desire to be in. So it's really important to continue to check in with yourself so you don't get lost in your daydreams about the future and you can instead practice being fully present in your current reality and especially being present in your body. It's important to pay attention to your thoughts and your emotions. And at the same time, it's important to check in with the sensations that you're feeling. If this person is constantly just giving you butterflies, while this can be a really exciting thing, and I know a lot of talk in our society talks about, oh my gosh, I just have butterflies in this moment. Sometimes that can be a red flag. It can be you're getting butterflies because there's a lot of anxieties and uncertainties swirling in your body. So it's important to check in with that. It's also important to check in with, am I fantasizing about this person because this is a characteristic that I actually really desire to have in my life? Or is this something that I just really admire about this person? And the way that you can tell is I want you to check in with how you are speaking about this person to your friends. Are you talking about how you are so excited that this person is successful, is really well known? They have their act together. Like you're talking about physical characteristics about this person, like maybe the way they look, the car that they're driving, the house that they're living in. You're talking about all these physical things, or are you talking about how you just love how this person makes you feel and maybe some character qualities about them? Usually, when you're talking to your friends about the first thing that I described, just all of these things that they have, or ways of being like maybe they're really successful or they're a public speaker, check in with yourself because maybe that's just something that you actually desire for yourself. Maybe you desire to be a public speaker or really successful or own your own business. Maybe those are things that you actually desire to have in your life. And you're just really deeply admiring this person for all of their gifts that they have. If you're talking to your friends about how much this person shows up for you, that you think they're so kind, you love the way that they treat others when you're on a date with them, you just love all these different characteristics and things that they do, maybe that's something that's not a fantasy and that's just something that you really love about this person. So it's important to really check in with yourself. Like, how are you talking about this person to your friends, your family, your therapist, whoever is holding space for you? Check in with yourself because that can be really revealing with how much are you fantasizing or are you just really excited about this person that you have in your life. And then, of course, it's really important to always make sure that you are cultivating a sense of safety and a sense of independence and self reliance in your own life. I talk a lot about co regulation and how that is really important to have in relationships, how it's really important to make sure you're with somebody that helps you feel more secure in your life and your relationships. But that should not be your only sense of fulfillment, happiness, security. That you should also be pursuing things in your life to make you feel like you have that sense of security, fulfillment, and happiness in your own life. Because we can't always just rely on our significant other to bring us this sense of fulfillment and happiness, but we also have to give that to ourselves. So, are you continuing to do hobbies that you love to do, or are you just waiting for somebody else to bring those into your life? Are you just fantasizing about somebody like, when I have XYZ, when I manifest a man that has all this money and success, then I will be happy? Or are you creating that in your life? It's important to make sure that you are investing in your personal growth, surrounding yourself with supportive friends and family so that you can really make sure that you are building a life that you really love and you're not waiting for somebody else to fix all of those things for you and bring you this happiness that you really deeply desire because that all comes from within. If you have been loving this episode so far and you're really desiring to take this work a step deeper, I invite you to my program, the Body Focused Healing Program for Anxious Attachment. I love this group so much because it is actually a hybrid group program and one-on-one with me. So you have access to my course, Choosing Her, which will help you move through nervous system regulation and healing your anxious attachment style. And you also get a one-on-one session with me where you get to create a custom nervous system healing map, which is so helpful and is something that all of my one-on-one clients use truly in every aspect of their lives. I definitely recommend hopping in this program if this episode is really resonating with you. Head over to my Instagram and send me a DM if you are interested. All right, let's get back to the episode. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this episode, it is really important, again, to normalize this process. We are all human beings. We are not perfect. Of course, we're going to have a little bit of fantasizing about somebody. We're going to fantasize a little bit. It's just part of human nature. So it's really important to let go of the shame and embarrassment that maybe you have. And it's important to call yourself out a little bit about, ooh, maybe I might be fantasizing about this person a little bit too much. I might be really seeing something in them that I actually really desire for myself. So it's okay to grieve the loss of a fantasy of somebody. It's important to recognize that letting go of this deeply held dream and expectation that you have for somebody can be difficult, that it can be a sense of loss, but it's also really necessary. It's a necessary step to take towards your healing and growth. And so allow yourself to feel whatever emotions are arising without judging it, without comparing it, and just allowing it to be there. That way you can give full acceptance for every aspect of yourself, because something that I often talk about is we are never trying to seek perfection on this journey of cultivating safety, security, love, connection, and groundedness in our relationships. That's never the goal. The goal is always to love ourselves through every emotion and experience. If this episode is really starting to make you think, okay, I might be fantasizing a little bit about somebody. Maybe it's actually something that I desire to have within myself. It's important to give yourself some self love. It's important to have compassion for yourself as you're grieving this loss of a fantasy of somebody. So let go of judging yourself, comparing yourself, any of that, because this is all part of the human experience. Allowing yourself to fully let go of the fantasy of somebody can actually give you so much space for calling in a love that you might not have looked for. You might have been overlooking somebody and just so deep in a fantasy with somebody that you might be missing out on somebody that's right in front of you that can provide you the life that you really deeply love and are looking to have. Breaking free from this fantasy and fantasizing about somebody isn't always easy, but it's definitely a journey that is so worth it. When you stay grounded in your body and fully present in the moment, fostering independence and embracing the reality of your life, you can create a future that you actually deeply desire to have. And you can create a future that is actually really what is meant for you in order to grow and to feel connected in your relationships. So I hope that these tips were helpful. If anything fully landed with you, I would love to hear from you. Tell me a little bit about a time that you have fantasized about somebody and how you were able to let go of that. And maybe something else happened in your life when you were letting go of that person. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon.